Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel. My name is Jerry. Thank you so much for returning. Yes, this is Coldborough Park Farm, episode number 12, I believe. I think so. And boy, I tell you what, I would love to just be able to sit here in these two, or one of these two little lounge chairs and just enjoy this beautiful English summertime weather that we're experiencing here on Coldborough Park Farm. It is truly beautiful and amazing, but you know something, we have work that we need to do. So um, it's summertime. We don't have any crops to harvest, but you know, we have a lot of animals that need to be tended to. We did some of that yesterday. We fed, or the previous video, I mean, previous episode, we fed and we took care of a lot of that. We also sold some milk, sold as much of the milk as until I grew bored hauling and transporting milk, and then I finally said, you know something, we've got like 300,000 liters of milk, and carrying 22,000 liters, 22,500 liters at a time to the sell point was going to just get pretty boring pretty quick. Even doing it off camera, I can only imagine what that would have been if I filled an entire episode with doing nothing but that. So what I did do to just fix that problem was I removed the stop milk sale sign. So when we transfer into the next game day, so into game day 2, summer day 2, then obviously that milk is going to sell at midnight and give us credit for that. So we'll have a whopping, hopefully a huge amount of money that will come in from that milk. Then I will put that stop milk sell sign back, and then that way we will have that to do periodically, probably at least once a game day. Need to carry that milk down and sell it just to stay on top of it. So we're coming down here to Chantry. We need to we need to do something, and I'll show you what we're going to do here in just a moment as we turn the corner and proceed past our hay barn here. I'll spin the camera around and look at that. We have 0 grass and we have 0 hay, and I will just go ahead and tell you that we've got, well, I'll just go down here so you can see it. Through the trees and around, we have 1 bale of silage left. So the good thing about this is that we basically used up everything that we had as far as grass and hay to get basically get the sheep and the cows fed up to the point that we could, at least, with grass and mixed rations and hay and stuff. So we basically fed everything that we had in inventory up. Obviously we've got grass to mow, so that is our task for today. And I fully, I do apologize, because I know that if you guys have been watching Coldborough Park Farm from the beginning on my channel, you know that we've kind of already done this once already, but it is just something that we've got to do. And let's see, let me get my over here so we can do change driving direction, left control B, and we will flip around. There we go. And let's see, we need to turn everything on, so G to get here. First you need to unfold. Okay, well, there we go. So B to turn it on, G to go back to the other mower, turn that on, get rid of that HUD, spin our camera around, back up a ways, and off we go. Alright, so mowing, the second time we've mowed on this map, but obviously, as you know, this is version 2 of Coldborough Park Farm. And we've just got to do these jobs. I mean, we have to keep our livestock fed, and watered and all that kind of stuff. And so it is just the part of the journey. It's part of the story. It's part of our everyday life here on our virtual farms. And you know, mowing is still probably my favorite thing to do. Plowing would be the least favorite thing to do on the map, and mowing is my favorite thing. So yeah. Now, if you watched my Lawfolds episode that appeared just before this one, I think that was Lawfolds maybe like 13 on Thursday. You may know that I sort of talked about the fact that I am trying to keep these maps from syncing up, and you know, I watch Landy Kid, I watched Aggerwin, you know, obviously they do, you know, Reefy 1952. I watch a lot of different YouTubers that manage multiple maps, and sometimes through no fault of anyone's, the maps just kind of get in sync with each other, meaning that it's somewhat the same, especially if they're doing seasons. And of course, a lot of people have been doing seasonal farming manually for a long time. You know, I know that Mike, Reefy 1952, has been doing it, and of course, with Soil Mod, that kind of gave us a little bit of a seasonal approach to farming. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that, you know, from time to time, we've all had these issues where our maps kind of get synced up, where, you know, in Lawfolds we're mowing and tethering and raking and baling hay, and here on Coldborough Park Farm, the first day of summer, we're mowing, and eventually we will, you know, tether and rake and bale. And it just, you know, it just is what it is. I wonder if collisions are still turned on. Yep, they are. Just wanted to test and see if collisions on the poles were still turned on. I had heard some discussion that maybe to help with course play, that they might get switched off, but I see that they're not, so that's all cool, not a problem. So, I don't know, about the only way that I think that I can get these maps desynced would be because, you know, obviously we did several episodes of Lawfolds while I sort of waited for Coldborough Park Farm to come out. And unfortunately, what I did with Coldborough Park Farm, because I did not want to start the map and start recording from the very first game day, because we've already covered that ground, we've already covered that season, that time period, somewhat, was I had, you know, kept the animals healthy and everything, and did a bunch of work off camera, and then fast forwarded through time and fed the animals, cleaned up after the animals, you know, keeping them at 100% and everything, and that's why we have so much milk, I think. But I wanted to do that that way we didn't duplicate efforts. But I think because I did it that way, obviously we're sort of almost in sync. Lawfolds, we're still in spring on Lawfolds, and obviously we're in day one of summer. Really, after we complete this mowing task, and we're probably going to need to mow this field and one or two of the others down below, 21 and 19 probably, because we need everything. We need grass, we need hay, and we need silage. So you know, I know that people have asked me, why do I bale grass? I bale grass for basically ease of use. It's a lot easier just to grab a bale of grass to feed to the sheep or to the cows than it is to, you know, go and scoop it up or whatever. So it's just kind of preference. But I will tell you, and I talked a little bit about this in Lawfolds 13, which you watched yesterday, is that, you know, the Seasons mod does sort of eliminate the ability to feed grass to livestock in the wintertime. So it's going to kind of be interesting to see, and I'm going to do a test on lawfolds for the sheep, because that's the only animal that we're raising on lawfolds at the present time. And obviously we'll have some grass on this map, and we'll just see what happens to it. I don't know if the bells will disappear, or if the animal, you know, in this case cows or sheep, will just sort of, if it will refuse to take that particular item. In the case of cows, obviously, you know, cows, with sheep you can feed grass or hay, okay? So we're okay there. We can feed them hay during the winter time, and obviously we'll make sure that we have plenty of baled hay. But with cows, obviously, cows require grass as a independent item. So what we will do, just for the sake of making sure that our cows can maintain the highest level of productivity possible, is we will make sure that we have them topped up in the grass category before we transition into the winter season. And then we'll see what happens. I don't know if the grass will disappear, or if you just have to make sure that you feed it to them before winter starts. Not real sure. To be honest with you, I'm not real sure why grass is a requirement for cows in the spring, summer, and fall anyway in this game, just simply because what are the cows doing right now? Look at our cows over there. We've got 100 dairy cows. What are they doing? They're eating grass. What are our sheep doing? Our sheep are eating grass. Now, with the sheep, I sort of get why we feed them hay and or grass in the troughs and everything, because that's the only food type item that they eat. But the cows, because we can feed them hay, we can feed them obviously mixed rations, which consists of straw, hay, and silage, and then we can also feed them silage independent. But I'm really not sure why grass is an item on their menu, because again, what are they doing right now? They're eating grass, amongst other things. But you know, the pasture that they're grazing in is nice and healthy. Now it'll be interesting to see what they do in the wintertime. Will that grass get knocked down just like all the other grass? I'm guessing probably so. So will they still, I'm sure that they will still go out there and pretend to graze and eat, just because the cows are, you know, that sort of giant's thing. So, you know, the cows don't know that the grass has been knocked down. And I don't really know if what their actions of actually grazing in the grass pasture, if that constitutes, you know, any nutritional impact to them as well. Not sure. You know, I guess fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at things, you know, the animals don't die. So if you don't feed them or water them, you know, at least based on Giant's default gameplay, the animals are not gonna die. They're just not gonna produce for you. They're not gonna give you the 100% productivity that, you know, we actually want and need out of them. Because it's kind of like, if you're going to do animal husbandry on the maps, you really need to make sure that you're able to keep them at 100%, because otherwise it's going to cost you. You know, as we demonstrated in the previous episode, we earned quite a nice income from the sale of that wool. We had 2 trailer loads of wool that went down to market yesterday, or in the previous video. and we earn quite a bit of money from that. So, as I have said before, wool is to 17, to Farm Sim 17, what silage and forestry was in Farm Sim 50. So, you know, if you are wondering, okay, what should I do from an animal perspective, unless you're just opposed to raising sheep, sheep is your best option. And I need to remember to do a screenshot here, because if I don't do this now, I will forget, and then I will fuss at myself, and then I will have to come back and do this. So yeah, sheep's the deal, I tell you. I mean, unless you're opposed to raising sheep, you should consider it, because put your money into sheep, and they will keep them fed, keep them watered. And sheep's relatively easy as well, because they can take grass and or hay. So even from the very beginnings, if you just buy yourself the small mower and the small forage wagon and just drive that around, collect the grass, keep them fed, and if you're using seasons mods, you're going to have to be concerned about grass in winter and all that kind of stuff. But at least to get you started, get the small mower, like the front mounted mower, and get the small forage wagon, and get after it. All right, let's see. We need our HUDs back here so we can see what we're doing. All right, so we've mowed that. We're about halfway through our episode, so we will head just on down and finish our oops. Got out on the wrong side of the tractor. That's because we're driving a tractor backwards. As I've said before, we have the best mannered cows, but I will go ahead and close the gates and keep them where they need to be. But yeah, they're very well mannered, and they will not try to escape. So one thing I noticed between version 1 and version 2 of Coldborough Park Farm is BulletBill has removed this gate. I'm pretty sure that there was a gate right here going into this pasture, right where I'm entering. I believe there was a gate there before, and it's not there anymore. So interesting. Okay, so we can turn that mower back on. We can switch over here and fold this mower down and get it ready to come on. We will cut this pasture. We'll do all three of these actually. I don't know if we'll do them on camera. And let's see, that mower I believe is down, so we need to do that. And then we need to do this. And off we go again. And if you guys are somewhat new to Coldborough Park Farm, don't forget you can get water, albeit it's not free, but you can get water in this pond that you're going to see here just as I make the turn. So this little pond down here, as you can see, I've already been hauling water out of this pond. Made a couple of trips out of here already, so you can see my tire tracks as I've come down here with pulling a few loads of water out of there. It is unfortunate that the water's not free in that pond. I'm not a map developer, so I don't know if water is one of those things that it's sort of, you know, I have played maps before where water is free, where in other words it doesn't cost you anything to get water, but I don't know if it's one of those things that it's all or nothing. In other words, water is either, all the water on the map is either charged, or all the water on the map is free. I don't know if it's one of those kind of things. But it would be nice, and I just say this from the perspective of realism, okay, that it would be nice if water that's in a pond, so for example what we're seeing just down below there, is if that water was free to take it out of there, because in the real world that's how it would be, is it would be free. There would be no cost to that. And I like, you know, I like as much realism and as much immersion and everything as possible. So in this case, you know, we can either, if it was doable, this pond, the water would be free, whereas if we were closer to the main farm where we've got water there that's obviously we would pay for, and that would give you a choice. You know, do I drive all the way down to Chantry and have to open, you know, a gate or two to go and get water that I can get for free, or can I just get it here and pay for it? It would give, I don't know, it would give a little bit level of immersion and decision making and everything. So now water, regardless of where you get it, it's going to cost you, and that's just not necessarily reality. Now, to throw added level of immersion into the scenario, how cool would it be if you know, this pond, for example, had a limited amount of water that was in it available, and if it doesn't rain, you know, it doesn't fill back up. And so there you sort of have to deal with, you know, sometimes real world drought scenarios where, you know, you gotta, then at that point you're gonna need to buy it, ration it, or whatever. So you might say, okay, well, everything, all of my water needs for Chantry I'm gonna take out of the pond, but for my pigs up on the other farm, that name escapes me right now, I would pull that out of, you know, I would pay for that, or whatever. Or like when soil mod comes around, hopefully it will come for 17, and obviously you need to spray water occasionally to keep that soil moisture and everything at the optimum level. Then there again, that would be, you would have to make that decision. Do I take that water out of the pond, knowing that, you know, if we don't have rain soon, that pond's going to dry up, or do I pay for it? Those are the things that I'm always sort of thinking about, and what I would certainly like to, you know, see, if possible, if it's doable. Like I said, I don't know. Maybe it's, you know, maybe it's an all or nothing kind of thing, that if BulletBill puts water on this map, and obviously all maps need water, then he's either got to make it where you pay for it, or he makes it where it's free, but it's not, you know, it can't be either or. I don't know the first thing about it, but I think it would be cool if it worked that way, if you could get water out of the pond and that water was free, because again, if we own this land, which we do, we own the pond, and unless there's some kind of law or rule or something in the UK that I'm not aware of, you it's free to, here in the US, if you own a pond and it's got water in it, you can take that water out and use it for whatever you want to. We've got some, speaking of water, we've got some really weird laws here, especially in Colorado. And I think that this law was actually repealed in November. But at one particular point in time, it was illegal to capture rainwater. It was illegal to capture rainwater. So in other words, they make these rain barrels that you can buy like at Home Depot, or make your own out of an old barrel or something. But you can buy these rain barrels, and you can buy downspout attachments, gutter attachments, and where basically the rainwater coming off your roof is captured into the rain barrel, and then you can use that water. Obviously, it's non-drinkable, but you can use that water to water your garden or whatever. But that was illegal to do up until November of this last 2016, and it was really weird. I mean, rain comes from God, Mother Nature, whatever, however you want to think of that. And rain falls on my roof that I own, on my house that I own, but yet it was illegal for me to capture said rainwater in a barrel that I would use not for drinking, not for bathing, but for watering my flower beds, my garden, whatever the case might be. And that was illegal. Yet the city and county of Denver typically imposes water restrictions, water rations, what we call it, usually in the summer and fall time frame. So weird stuff, definitely. All right, well, we're getting close to approaching our magic number of 30 minutes. So I am going to just kind of get things turned back on here and get the mowers lowered. I think everything is on, and get going again, and we'll just kind of start saying thank you all for watching. I appreciate that. I will go ahead and mow the rest of this field off camera, and so we've got basically 3 fields that we will have cut, that we have grass laying on the ground. And so what I will do is I will probably in the next episode, we will tether one of these fields, and that will be, or maybe tether 2 of these fields, and that's what we will use for both hay as well as silage bales, and then most likely just rake one of these fields, probably maybe the smaller of the 3, rake that and then bale that as grass, because I like to use baled grass for ease of handling purposes. And yeah, so, and of course we'll do round bales for silage, obviously, and we'll do square bales for everything else, just because square bales are faster to produce, and yeah, so that's what we will do. Alright, so thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate that. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, TGIF and all that good stuff. So thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. And don't forget, Valentine's Day is just around the corner. It's still a week and a half or so away, but I know that my channel is probably viewed mostly by guys, and unfortunately we have this disease called procrastination, or at least some of us have that, and we sort of think about pushing things off to the last minute. Just be kind to be kind to your mothers, be kind to your wives, be kind to your girlfriends, maybe your kids, all that kind of stuff, and you know, get them some candy, get them some flowers, get them a card. Do all that stuff now while you still got some time to do it before all the selection and everything is gone. Well, maybe not flowers, obviously, but cards and stuff like that. Do that, and you know, treat them, because hey, if your wife is anything like, or your significant other is anything like my significant other, she is very, very supportive in my hobbies, and always gives me plenty of flexible time to enjoy my hobbies and whatever they may be. And I've got a number of them, but you know, I always try to appreciate her, not only on the holidays but also every single other day that passes as well. And I would recommend that do the same for your significant other. And with that said, I will say thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and take care, and come back again very, very soon to the Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel. Bye bye.